Hey guys, Kevin Hawkins with Kaku Kayak. For you guys that don't know me, I wanted to give you a little bit of background on me. I'm born and raised here in Florida on the coast. I've always lived on the water. The water is where I really feel most comfortable, and I love being out there, as much as I possibly can. So I really got into paddling kayaks in the mid-90s and fell in love with it. And it's been one of my passions ever since. So that's really how Kaku Kayak came about, because I really felt like I could design something unique and mainly as far as performance, that could perform better for what I like to do out there than what I was currently paddling. So that's really how Kaku Kayak came about, and I want to do some things to just show you guys some of the things that I did, because I made a lot of mistakes. I started working on doing designs 5 or 6 years ago, and I made some mistakes. So there's some things I designed that nobody's ever seen, and there's some things I designed that I kind of liked, but they're kind of novelty items, but I never took them to market. And even some of the designs that I have on the market today, I made some mistakes on them in the beginning. So I want to, I'm going to, show you those things, and we're going to talk about some different things about paddlecraft, and really just give you some little bit more education on paddlecrafts, so that you guys will be well informed on things, because some of the things I'm seeing out there, while they might be humorous, they're really kind of bad for people that are looking for information, and some of the disinformation that they're getting is quite ridiculous. So I know that if I can show you guys a few things, then you will be much more educated than most of the people that are seen as authority out there and what they're talking about, because some of it is just patently false. So let's get into it. So what we're going to talk about today is fishing SUP. What is the differences between fishing SUPs out there? The first SUP I ever designed was this one here on top. Actually, this was a PVC laminate SUP, so it's more of a typical SUP. It is different than a lot of the boats that you do see out there, paddle boards that you see out there, because it's a PVC laminate. So what that is it's really a fiberglass board with a PVC outer shell. So it made it pretty strong, because that was the biggest thing with fiberglass SUP, is they can really get holes in them quite easy, so they're a little bit fragile. So I designed this board, and I really liked it, but there was a few key things that I didn't like, and they were enough to make it so I didn't really pursue this any further. So this has just kind of become a personal board that I have some fun on from time to time. So the things that I didn't like about it is these types of boards are very loud. So the hole slap on them is too much for me. I don't like a lot of hole slap. So the hole slap on these is very loud, and that's not good for getting into shallows and sight casting fish, obviously. So the things that's really good about this board is the weight. This is only about 26 pounds, so it's very lightweight. So if you're not concerned with hole slap, and you're not too concerned with hitting oyster bars and hitting rocks and logs like that, this could be a very viable option for you. One of the other things that I don't like about it, which it is kind of a good thing, I mean, the board is very rigid, so it's very stiff, and that's good in one way, but for me, as far as for fishing, it's too hard on the feet. It's too hard on your joints. It gets uncomfortable after a while. If you're getting an SUP and you're just going to be going out there to go paddle for an hour, for fun, then that's fine. But if you're like me, you go fishing, you're going fishing 4 hours, maybe 3 hours, but between 3 and some people like to go out there for 8-10 hours. If you're going out there for that long, it is very uncomfortable. Your feet start hurting, your knees and your joints and your ankles start hurting. So for me, those were just a few things that I didn't like and made me change my mind on pursuing this type of board. So this is just kind of a novelty board I have around here that I really love, and I'm proud of how it was. it just wasn't going to be practical. I didn't feel, as far as going on the market as a fishing craft, that I was going to sell. So I just never even really outfitted it for fishing. I just kind of stopped messing with it. And then I turned to roto molding an SUP for fishing, because I thought that, for me, I thought it was just going to be better, have better advantages. So after playing with the fiberglass SUPs for a little while and just deciding that I didn't think it was as practical as I would like it to be for fishing, I went to the roto mold. I started designing the Kahuna. This is the very first prototype of the Kahuna. And so I designed this, this vessel out and got a mold made for it. I made a big mistake by choosing who I did business with. I had the factory that was making all the kayak molds for the Chinese kayak factories make the mold for this, which meant that, you know, my drawings didn't exactly get kept private, so that wasn't a good thing. But the main mistake that I figured out once I got this in and started testing it was it just didn't track good enough standing up and using an SUP paddle. When I sat down and used kayak paddle, it was fine. But when I stood up, I could only get one, maybe two strokes on a side, and then I had to switch sides, and that's just a pain in the butt. That's not good enough for me. So I needed to do something to get it to where I could get, you know, 3, 4, 5 strokes on a side before having to switch, and then just make it a lot more efficient. So what I figured out was, on this design, I did put the triple keel. So you got the 2 side fins here molded in, and then you got the center keel, right? Well, this was not enough of a center keel. So, realizing my 2 mistakes, I took my mold, I moved it to a factory that I helped create to make molds. That way I could keep all of my designs more private. And once I got it there, I made a separate drawing for a new keel piece that could be you know, welded into the mold, so it added more keel, and then that would fix the problem. So I fixed both those problems right away with the Kahuna. I made more keel, and I was able to keep my drawings more private. So the initial drawings that got shared would have been of this actual one, so it would have been this shape that you see here. So here we have the current model of the Kaku Kahuna. You can see here, this is what we fixed in it to make sure that it would track beautifully. So you can see this line here. This is how the prototype was that I showed you. We added this section in here, and that, as soon as I got this in and paddled it, boom, I knew we had fixed the problem, and we made it track as good as I was hoping it would originally. So I can personally guarantee you that if you see a craft out there on the market that may have these 2 fins on each side, but it has more of a shape like this, I can personally guarantee you when you stand up, it's not going to track worth crap. Paddling with a kayak paddle will be just fine because you're getting 1 stroke each side. But when it comes to SUP paddling and having to paddle on one side and switch sides, it's going to be a pain in the butt. You're going to get 1 to 2 strokes. So then other features of the Kahuna that set it apart is the V-hole. So it's got a V-hole all the way through. It's definitely deeper up here at the bow. We've brought up the bow some so that it can handle rougher water. Where I fish at a lot, I'm fishing off the side of a channel, so I get a lot of boat wake. I need a paddlecraft that can handle boat wake. That's why we designed it like this, so this can handle rougher water beautifully, paddles very efficiently, and cuts through the water nice. As you come through here, the V gets more moderate as it comes through, but it's still V all the way through. And then you notice on the sides of it here, we got a little bit of a different side than what you would typically see out there. A lot of times you see the rounded sides. I believe in a hard chine and not so rounded on the sides. Round, round likes to roll. The hard chine, more of the flat sides, does not like to roll. It actually wants to stay flat. So that's not to say that it can't roll, because it definitely can roll. Anything can roll, but it doesn't really want to do it. So it makes for a very stable craft without having to make this sucker so wide that, like a barge. So those are keys to this. Now, capacity. Capacity is something that's adding some confusion out there, because you look at different crafts and you say, well, this craft's similar in size. Why is its capacity so high? Well, I like to make my capacities at the point that performance starts diminishing. I do not set my capacity at the point that it goes underwater. It's really easy to figure a capacity for when the craft will go underwater. Capacity is determined by two factors and two factors only: water displacement and volume. So water displacement would be the length and width of the craft that's displacing water. The volume would be how much air is inside the hull. There's no ways around this. You can't fill the hull with foam and increase volume. You're just replacing the air volume with foam volume. So it's the same thing whether it's a hollow hull like this is, or if you filled this hull with foam. That's some disinformation that's going on out there, and it's completely untrue. The only way that you can increase capacity is by increasing the water displacement, or increasing the size of the vessel, or by increasing volume. That's it. So I place mine at the point that performance starts to get diminishing. So on the Kahuna, I have it placed at 280 pounds. I know that anywhere up to 280 pounds, you will be very comfortable with the performance of the Kahuna. You start getting over that, well, you start sticking it more in the water. You start getting water further up this sidewall here, which then you start getting more washout on your deck. And, you know, so I know that people aren't really going to be happy with that. So, you know, at 280 pounds or below, and, you know, the truth is I've got people out there that say that they've had 300 or 300, I've even had guys say they had 330 pounds on there and it was just fine, and that may be, but I didn't test it myself with that, so I'm only going to tell you what I personally tested. And I think that, you know, some people will be there, but there'll be some people that maybe are beginners and not as skilled at being on the water which wouldn't. So, you know, always know that the information I give you, I'm trying to give you the best information for, you know, the maybe less skilled, the people that are just starting in paddlecraft fishing and stuff. If you're more advanced and more skilled at paddlecraft fishing, then you'll be better. You'll still be fine at numbers above what I put out there, but I try to get numbers out there for to make sure that the beginners and you know, the less skilled are still going to be performing good at it. So that's how I do my capacity, and I hope that gives you guys a more clearer understanding of how capacity works, and so that you know, you can notice this information when you give it. Now, talking about filling the hull with foam, some of the other disinformation that's getting out there is that if you fill the hull with foam, that it's unsinkable. I mean, this is a joke. You know, the Titanic was supposedly unsinkable too, right? But if you fill it with foam and you get a hole in your hull, then yes, it will slow down how much water is able to get into it. So it will definitely slow down how fast the hull will sink. But I will guarantee you that once that foam gets waterlogged, that sucker is going underwater for sure. So it's not unsinkable, but the biggest part of that is that's a solution in search of a problem, being that I've never had any of my paddlecraft sink. You know, if there's not a problem with paddlecraft sinking, then, you know, why do you try and fix that problem that doesn't exist? So that was kind of a joke out there anyways too. And there's other problems that arise from, we did have an SUP at one time, a rotomolded SUP at one time that we filled with foam, and it starts there's some other problems that come up from it. They don't show up right away, they take a little while, but there's some problems that come up, and the situation with that is a lot of times problems that might arise with your rotomolded paddlecraft can be fixed, but there's certain problems that come up with filling the hull with foam that cannot be fixed, and once they show themselves, the craft is done. So, but we'll leave that aside. I don't want to be giving information out there to people that I don't want to have the information. So I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to discuss with you guys on this. I hope this gave you some really good information, and you know, just got you some more knowledge on things, and we'll be doing some more of these. So thanks for watching.